Yo, what's good? It's Minstora. So The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is finally here, y'all. It is out and released and in the wild for everybody to play. And I mean it, literally everybody on the internet. If you've been on the internet, everybody is playing this game and they're talking about this game. So I wanted to come up here, make a quick video about it. This is kind of freeform. I don't really got a script or anything about that. Kind of just giving my thoughts on things and discussing what's going on with this game and potentially Game of the Year in the Game Awards, right? I've played it. Right, I've played the game and I've been enjoying myself. I like it. My stance on these games, specifically Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, is a bit different in that I did play Breath of the Wild. I liked it. I enjoyed my time with it. But after about 20, probably even like somewhere around 30 hours into it, I just found that the weapon durability system was ruining the game for me. Now, I could still objectively look at the game and say, just because I didn't like the fact that weapons were constantly breaking and there's not much you can do except for having Octoroks like suck up the weapons to like restore them, but that's not really an actual solution. Outside of that, like weapons will just break. It just ruined the game for me. But still, I could objectively look at the game and say, outside of that, I got to give credit where it's due and point out that it's an amazing game. You know what I'm saying? And I could do the same here. I can absolutely do the same here with Tears of the Kingdom, except that outside of the weapon durability, this game is better in just about every way, right? The only thing really holding it back is just the Switch and the crappy performance there, right? But I've actually installed a weapon durability mod that does make it so weapons break much less. They don't break as frequently as all. So that's really fixed my biggest issue with the game. So here in Tears of the Kingdom, I'm actually enjoying myself a lot more. But outside of that, even if that wasn't the case, I can easily acknowledge that this game is just superior to Breath of the Wild in every way. And with that being the case, right, like I said, this game's all over the internet. Like, you literally cannot go on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, wherever, YouTube, you're gonna run into people talking about clips of this game or whatever. So with that being said, like we saw with Breath of the Wild, like we saw with Breath of the Wild, are we gonna run into a situation where this game just like steamrolls the Game Awards like Breath of the Wild did, and is it gonna win Game of the Year kind of like no contest, right? That's what this video is about. That's what I wanted to talk about. Now, for me, just talking me personally, while this game is absolutely amazing and is a phenomenal game, even as it stands right now, I do think that just because I've played it in early access, I do think most likely Baldur's Gate 3 will end up being my Game of the Year. But even without that, right, just talking games that have released so far as of the middle of May of 2023, Tears of the Kingdom isn't even my Game of the Year, right? I still think Resident Evil 4 Remake was a much better game, at least for me personally, my taste, how much I enjoyed it, what I got out of the game, right? I still think Resident Evil 4 Remake is better and would be my personal Game of the Year out of titles that have already released so far this year. But again, that's my personal Game of the Year. And let's say somehow we could predict, let's say if it came down to those two in the Game Awards, do I see Resident Evil 4 actually beating Tears of the Kingdom? I don't know. That's tough, right? Because 90% of what decides a Game of the Year at the Game Awards is done by panelists, and then the remaining 10% is popular vote. Tears of the Kingdom has a huge following. Whenever Legend of Zelda games come out, it is a huge like worldwide event because these games don't come out that often. So whenever one of these games releases, it is a huge thing in pop culture and gaming especially, right? So with that being the case, I really think no matter what comes out this year, and this year is stacked for good games. There's been a lot of disappointing games like Redfall, Suicide Squad with its, you know, its monetization style and it being kind of a live service game and what was revealed with that game. There's been some disappointments this year, but overall, this year's just been incredible for gaming. I mean, Dead Space Remake, RE4 Remake, Hogwarts Legacy, we got Baldur's Gate 3, Dead Island 2 was great, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, even with its performance issues, all great. So it's like, you know what I'm saying, we got Tekken, out of stuff that's already came out this year's already solid. Then we still got stuff like Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, you know what I'm saying, Lies of P. Lots of incredible games are slated to release this year, but still, I really do think none of those are going to be as quite of a cultural phenomenon as Tears of the Kingdom's release is. So popular vote, I think Tears of the Kingdom has got it in the bag. It may not win by as big of a margin in the popular vote, that 10% that it gets tallied up towards whoever gets the W for the Game of the Year category at the award show, but it won't be as big of a margin as Breath of the Wild had with that popular vote, but it's still probably most likely going to win, at least in my opinion. But where things get different is those panelists. And honestly, with what's come out this year, I think it's going to be tough, because normally Tears of the Kingdom has to go against other similar titles in a category, right? It's going to have to go against games that provide a similar kind of experience. Like you would get, while they're not the same game, while Elden Ring is an RPG and Tears of the Kingdom is very much an action game. I know Elden Ring didn't come out this year, but just for comparison's sake, right? Tears of the Kingdom and Elden Ring could provide kind of a similar experience. You're on horseback, you're exploring a vast world, you're fighting enemies, discovering items, getting snippets of lore and interactions with NPCs here and there. They provide a very similar experience. So Tears of the Kingdom had to go head to head. I mean, not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild had to go head to head with a lot of games that provided similar experiences, and it just won. It just won, right? This year, that's different though. It's competing against games that provide a very different experience. Like I said, it has to go against things like Dead Space Remake. It has to go against things like Hogwarts Legacy. It's gonna have to go against things like Jedi Survivor, Star Wars, huge property, huge IP, man. A lot of love behind that, and it's gonna have to go against another cultural phenomenon, Bethesda games. When those release, they are a really, really big deal. Really, really big deal. And then, like I said, one of my personal favorites, Baldur's Gate 3 has to go up against a really highly anticipated CRPG with the Dungeons and Dragons IP behind it. So I don't think it has it for the panelists. I'm gonna be upfront with you. I think for the panelists, it's gonna be pretty split, because there's just so many high quality games that are coming out this year that provide different kinds of experiences. And I'm mostly talking in just the AAA space. I'm not even really talking indie like that. Like, yeah, maybe Baldur's Gate 3 isn't AAA, but I wouldn't consider it indie either. But for the most part, I'm only talking AAA games too. These indies, don't let them sneak up on you. Do not let these indie games sneak up on you, right? So it's weird, because like I'm looking at it now, right? I'm looking at it now, and let me see actually, which one is it? For the Game of the Year, for whatever year, for, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it now, and Breath of the Wild did have to go against kind of a lot of similar style games, but you know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's see what it says here. So the Game of the Year is between Horizon Zero Dawn, Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, and PUBG. So really, that's what Tears of the Breath of the Wild had to go against. So Breath of the Wild had to go against Super Mario Odyssey, PUBG, Persona 5, and Horizon Zero Dawn. It had an easy win that year. That honestly, as sad as it is to say, it had a really easy win that year. And 2023 is shaping up to be one of, if not the best year in gaming, like, of all time so far. So I really think, while Tears of the Kingdom is much better than Breath of the Wild, is gonna have its work cut out for it, man. That this bracket, who it has to compete against, is not gonna be as easy. Not at all. So realistically, and I know I've kind of rambled a lot. This video is very much a ramble style video. But really, to answer the question, it hasn't been going on too long. To answer the main question, what I'm asking in this video, do I think that I think, you know, Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda has a shot at winning Game of the Year, but honestly, my prediction, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. Reason is, I think the Switch is holding it back. There's a lot of people nowadays that game on PS5s. PS5s are more publicly available. Xboxes are more publicly available, and a lot of people their primary gaming source is actually cloud gaming platforms like GeForce Now, but more importantly like Xbox Game Pass, and even PlayStation Now has its own like gaming service to where you could just download and play games. So with the Switch holding it back and limiting the amount of people that get to play it, I don't know. I don't think that Tears of the Kingdom, as great and phenomenal as a game it is, I don't think it's gonna win. That is my prediction, y'all. I do not think, when you look at the platform, when you look at its reach as a Nintendo console, when you look at what else is coming out this year, and when you look at, well, yes, Breath of the Wild absolutely steamrolled the Game Awards in 2017, and while it did just absolutely dominate Game of the Year, like it wasn't even close. Persona 5, okay, phenomenal game, but like it wasn't beating Breath of the Wild. But outside of that, that was its only real competition, you know what I mean? And Horizon Zero Dawn, Super Mario Odyssey provided similar experiences to Breath of the Wild already, so it was definitely going to win. But this year's a much different story with the lineup of games it has to go against. Even if we're just counting stuff that's already come out, I don't know. I don't think Breath of the Wild has it. Not Breath of the Wild, sorry. I don't think Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is winning 2023 Game Awards. Now, I feel like that's a pretty hot take and a bold claim to make, though. I feel like most people are looking at this game, and I actually already seen some videos, everyone's talking about it, that Tears of the Kingdom is winning. It's a no-brainer. I've seen that conversation on the internet, so I understand that my take is kind of potentially a hot one, that it is kind of the minority, but I don't think, would I be surprised if it won this year? No, not at all. But I don't think it's winning it, y'all. That's my prediction. I don't think it's winning. I want to know what y'all think. You know, you've heard my takes, you've heard my little ramble on this subject. So I really want to know what you guys think. Do you think that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is winning 2023 Game of the Year at the Game Awards? Let me know why you think so. Take into account the landscape of gaming back in 2017, that it wasn't like as phenomenal of a year as gaming as 2023 is shaping up to be. You know, kind of compare these 2 years, give me your breakdown on it, your stats on it, and let me know what you think. Am I like heavily off target? Am I just missing it a little bit? I'm curious to know what you guys think. Be sure to comment below and let me know if you think Tears of the Kingdom is actually going to win Game of the Year, and if not, if you're like me, who do you think is going to win Game of the Year? Unfortunately, with the information we got now, I can't make a solid pick on who I think is taking it. I want Baldur's Gate 3 to get the W, and that's my Game of the Year, potentially most likely, but it could also be Resident Evil 4. But to be honest, if Tears of the Kingdom didn't win, I really think Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to win. That's my honest opinion. Based on the panelists and popular vote, I really think Tears of the Resident Evil 4 is the most likely winner in my book, the remake of Resident Evil 4. But that's just my opinion. Again, let me know what y'all think, and I will catch y'all on the next one. As always, y'all be easy. Peace.